1940s of two groups of children that followed them from birth to 3. What was the article? Better to be raised in a prison. What? Better to be raised in a prison? I thought prison would be a bad environment for children. And better than what? We need to mute somebody.
I would love to get penalized with. I don't like Spectrum at all. They do not give the service that I had when I was with Time Warner.
He is muted still.
We are in a different world with presentations and meetings, with all this digital opportunity. We are going to get this going here, aren't we? Aren't you glad we're here? I've got to tell you about this study of two groups of children in the 40s. Half of the children were born to women in prison, and the other half were placed in an orphanage. Both groups, of course, received food, clothing, and shelter. And for the first 3 months, the institutionalized babies were flourishing. They were growing. They were developing a lot better than the babies in prison. But that's where it stopped. After 3 months, the prison babies, who were nurtured by their mothers, the prison guards, and other inmates, began to flourish. This interaction, this human connection, gave them life. The orphans, unfortunately, many did not survive the 3-year study. Well, why am I telling you this story? What has this got to do with leadership? It's because a basic human need is to be connected. It gives us life. We belong in a community. Belonging is important. In a sea of humanity, belonging is a shore of security, love, and identity. Tonight, we're going to explore leadership in community, whether you're leading a club or your family, or you have a business team. This information will help you as we study CLAIM. Now, I want you to participate so we know that you're here and you can stay awake. Put in your chat one word that describes leadership to you. What do we have? What do you say about leadership? Do y'all know where to find the chat? Service, empowerment, inspiring, servant focus, resilience. These are great words. Good job. Sometimes it may feel like that leadership is more like herding cats, working on getting everybody on the same page or keeping everybody motivated. Well, over the years, as I've studied leadership, I've discovered that successful leadership has basically 5 parts of 5 facets that help with leadership. It builds community, and community is where people can be and do their best. No matter what relationship you're in, whether you're leading or it's just a relationship, this is information that you can apply. Now, what does tonight look like for us? What's our agenda? We're going to have 3 parts. The first part is, yes, I will explain what CLAIM is all about. And the second part is I'm going to take you on a journey of a businessman, and you will see this strategy in practice. And third, after you've learned so much and your brains are cooking up some ideas, we are going to have some mastermind opportunity where we're going to share with each other and figure out how we can all improve even just 1%, improving 1% every day in your leadership. definitely is in the right direction. So you can put claim to use in your leadership. Now, before we dig in, I want to know who's here. I also want to thank you for saying no to so many things to say yes to today. Now, if you are in a leadership position, put yes in the chat and then say whether it's business or a team or a nonprofit, what's your position, or family, you lead a family. Put yes, I'm in leadership, and what it is. I would guess that everybody here is likely a project manager, but then that, you know what happens when you assume. Business, family, large company, nonprofit, awesome. All of these positions of leadership can benefit from this information. Now put in there how many people you are leading. In the large company, maybe you're leading hundreds or thousands. In a family, well, maybe not hundreds or thousands, but you could have a large family, 7, 10, or maybe you're a project leader with multiple teams. 10 cross-function, 5 teams, 110, 6 plus 100 volunteers. We have some power people on here, and this is going to help you, I am sure. Thank you so much. Now, the next question, why are you here? I don't mean the existential question of why am I alive? Raise your hand, your digital hands, since almost everybody's video is turned off. Do you know how to raise your digital hand? Raise your digital hand if you're here to get your PDUs. I'm looking. Oh, we've got a few that confessed. Yes, everybody else is looking for the reaction button to put your yes. Yes, some of you are not here for PDUs, and it's great. You need your PDUs, and I'm glad if that brought you here tonight. Thank you. If you raised your hand, you can lower your hand now. Thanks. The next question is, what are your expectations? And this time, raise your hand. And if you would like to tell everybody why you're here. Rama, is that Rama? Can you unmute and tell us what your expectations are for tonight? What do you hope to get out of this? Or not? Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for being here to learn. I think Rama doesn't know how to put down her hand. Carol on her iPhone. What are your expectations?
So my expectation, and I just got to my house, that's why I don't have the camera on yet, but is to learn and improve more. I'm a pretty new project manager. I work at a nonprofit organization. Just got my PMP not too long ago, so I want to improve even more. Excellent.
Well, I hope you can give me some feedback at the end of this that yes, you have learned something. We are, and part of it is going to be your participation. People, everybody adding to the conversation. That's great. Thank you. Now, as we go through this information, if you come up with a question in the chat, write question all in caps and then your question. And if you have an idea or a thought, or you want to contribute some comment, then put comment in all big capital letters so we can find your questions and your comments in the chat. And we're going to go back to those later on. Now, what you've been waiting for. What is claim? Well, I want you to take this away. People don't only want to be connected, they want to be claimed. And what is that in leadership. What am I talking about? CLAIM is an acrostic. CLAIM. It is an acrostic for chosen, loved, acknowledged, invested in, and made for greatness. We're going to go through each one of these facets. And as we do, think about how you've already applied this or how you can improve in the application of it. Our first facet is chosen. The elementary PE students were scattered all over the gym, and the coach blows the whistle to gather everybody around. He chooses the top 2 athletes to pick teams for the class dodgeball game that day. A couple of the students stand with their chest pushed out and a big smile on their face. They know they're going to be picked first. Few other students have their heads drooped and their shoulders slumped, and they're dreaming of reading a book. They know they will be chosen last. Oh, the trauma of choosing teams. You know, a quick search on Google revealed a number of articles about the damage of being picked last and the lifelong scars. Truth is, deep down, we all want to be chosen first, right? Don't you? And I'm sure with this leadership power, many of you have had the thrill of victory to be chosen for an office, elected for an office, or chosen for a position on a team or in a club. Being chosen confirms our self-worth. It doesn't stop in grade school. It continues throughout life. What does chosen look like in the workplace? A chosen person knows that they're selected. Maybe they put in an application and their application was chosen. Maybe they were recruited. They didn't even apply yet, and they were selected. It also means that they are qualified. A chosen person at work feels qualified, that they must have the qualities required to do the job. And then thirdly, they're included. Have you ever been on the inside? You probably didn't even realize you were the in crowd. It's the people on the outside that wish that they were included. But a chosen person at work feels a part of the company, feels a part of the team, feels the inclusive culture of the company. So that's C, chosen. Our second letter is loved. Now, who doesn't want to be loved, right? I mean, think of the prison babies and how love gave them life. What kind of love? Well, there are many kinds of love. There's phileo, which is like brotherly love. There's agape, which is godly love. There's eros, which is erotic love. Then there's motherly love and puppy love and love of puppies and love struck and love sick. There are so many kinds. And what would the music industry be if we didn't want love? Think of all the songs that would not have been written. She loves me, yeah. What's love got to do with it? And looking for love in all the wrong places. I discovered 1,187 songs about love that have love in the title. How many of those could you think of in a minute? Well, that's getting off track. And you're probably still thinking about all the songs that have love in it. You can stop now. The point is, we all want and need love, don't we? It's basic to our living. What's love got to do with leadership or in the workplace? Love in the workplace means there is security. A person feels a secure, loving environment if they know that they're not going to come to work and suddenly the door's locked because the company shut down, or they're going to walk in and get fired. There's a security in love in a culture. Then there's also value. People feel valued. They feel loved if their value is recognized. And then the workplace can be a culture with empathy. That does not mean you don't hold people to accountability, that they're not, but they don't have to do what they're supposed to do, but there's empathy in that. How you correct people or hold people accountable in a loving environment, you can do it with empathy. So chosen, loved. Our third is acknowledged. That first step, letting go of security and taking that first step. The toddler receives cheers and applause, giving him encouragement and spurring him on. And he continues to grow and learn new skills. And he starts churning with ideas that he has to talk about. He's got to express. His parents are engrossed in a conversation and he can't get their attention. Mom, mom, dad, dad. And every once in a while, an slips in between the adult verbiage. Finally, the toddler climbs up into his dad's lap and with his chubby little hands, jerks his face around and says, Dad, Dad, listen to me, listen to me. And life continues in search of being acknowledged. What does acknowledgement look like in the workplace? It means people feel seen. Now, when we were meeting in person more, I would recommend that people would look other people in the eye, because the eye is the window to the soul. A person feels seen if they're connected with the eyes. And now that we're so much digital, it's more important than ever to find the camera and look directly into the camera. So you're almost reaching through cyberspace to connect with someone. See, if I'm looking at all the people that are in here, I am not looking at you. I want you to be seen and feel seen. The next way that a person is acknowledged is that they're heard. And in the workplace, this means someone, if they have a suggestion, an improvement, a comment, an idea, they know that they can be heard, that they have the freedom to say something and they will be acknowledged for their ideas. And all of this acknowledgement empowers a person. Chosen, loved, acknowledged. And the fourth facet is invested in. There lived a very successful, wealthy man who had built his business from nothing. He had come from nothing. His concentration on his endeavors had rewarded him. He had one son who idolized him, and he wanted to spend time every day with his dad. On occasion, on a rare occasion, he was allowed to sit in the leather chair in his dad's office and watch him work. When the boy was turning 12, he said to his dad, Dad, all I want for my birthday is to go fishing with you. The father chartered a fishing boat and spent the whole day fishing with his son. The boy felt invested in, time and money and important. it was short-lived. That was the only day his father had found time for him. Years later, when the father passed away, the son was cleaning out his office and he came across the calendar from that year. He quickly turned to his birthday to see, what did it say? Fishing with son, whole day wasted. Are we missing opportunities to invest in people, in our families, in our work? Are we so focused that we're not remembering to invest? We all want to know that someone that's important to us wants to invest in us. The father missed his mark with investing in his son. What does investing in the workplace look like? Well, some very obvious things. Money, investing with bonuses or contests or raises. That would be one way to invest in the people on your team. When you have a nonprofit, then you've got to come up with another reason. Maybe it's the second way, time. And it doesn't have to be an all-day fishing day. It's a stopping by someone's desk or giving them an extra call and saying, how's it going? And giving them time and listening. And the third thing is resources. Resources can be education, it can be better tools, better programs, it can be bringing in a speaker or giving someone a coach, different resources to make their job better and easier to accomplish. Think, what is the one thing that you could do for your person that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? A clarifying question. Chosen, loved, acknowledged, invested in, and the last one is made for greatness, which can be said making a difference. Have you ever stood at the edge of a pond and throwing rocks across the surface? 1, 2 skips, 1, 2, 3 skips, maybe 4. Fascinating. First, you have to find the perfect skipping rock, smooth, small, flat. And then, of course, you've got to get the angle right for the throw. So you send your treasure off into the deep, but you don't mind. It's fascinating. It's like watching a ping pong ball bounce across a table. Isn't that a lot like our lives? Every time the rock hits the water, ripples come out. Every impact, you see the impact of each touch of your life causes ripples. Whether we admit it or not, what we want to do is cause ripples across the surface in a good way. Our contribution to the world matters to us. We want to know that we are made to ripple 5 times or more. What does that look like in the workplace? Everyone wants to know that they're purposeful. What they're doing has a purpose. It's not a random act that is not connected. It has purpose. They also want to know that they're impactful, that what they're doing will impact people. And then they want to be intentional. A person that's making a difference, that is made for greatness, can be intentional, operating with intent. So in review, the 5 facets are chosen, loved, acknowledged, invested in, and made for greatness. And remember, people don't only want to be connected, they want to be claimed. Now, before we move on to the businessman's journey, let's stop a minute and see if we have any questions or comments. And does anybody want to unmute and make a comment or have a question? Is it clear as mud? Or it's so, it makes so much sense, you have no questions whatsoever? Anybody? All right, then. It's now time for the second part. Makes sense. Thank you. True. It's clear. Very much agree. Awesome. Appreciate that feedback. Now for the second part, I'm going to tell you about my friend Norm. Meet my friend Norm. He was hired by a high growth, mid-sized company in an executive position, and he gave me permission to share his story. Listen for the 5-facet leadership strategy. It'll be fairly obvious. As soon as Norm entered, he noticed the thick, toxic air in the office of his new assignment. He scanned the room. The customer service person sat with a scowl on her face, clutching the phone to her face. The sales manager oozed with frustration as he confronted a salesperson. There was another employee slumped in her chair, staring at her desk. After his visit, Norm asked the chairman, "What are your expectations? Shut it down, repurpose the employees, or build it back?" That's your decision. What would you do? Would you shut it down, run for the hills, risk failure with trying to rebuild? Norm decided to go with growing the business. He chose all the workers in that subsidiary when he moved forward with the rebuild. The employees knew things were not good. In fact, some of them may have hoped that he would end the insanity, shut it down, and put them out of their misery. But he believed in the possibility. In leading your team, you may or may not be the one that chose the people you're working with, but do they feel chosen? One of the things that Norm did was to take all the employees off site for a full day of discussions, evaluations, and goal setting. It was a safe and secure place where people could discuss openly and freely. Norm listened. Together, they focused on the current status in all the areas: sales, training, customer service, administrative, and financial performance. How do you see this applying in your leadership? Have you done something like this? I'm sure you have team time, right? The most effective part of Norm's work was acknowledging his employees. He began understanding the strengths and personalities of his people. He got to know Teresa. She had worked in customer service and hated it. But from her evaluation, she scored high on administration. Norm made her his executive assistant, the best one he's ever had, he says. He would say, "Hey, Teresa, can you bring me?" But before he even finished asking, Teresa would walk in with what he needed. He recognized her gifts and put them to good use. He got to know John, who was the manager of the sales reps and miserable. John had been promoted to this position because he'd been such a stellar salesperson, but he was frustrated because he knew he could do such a better job than all the salespeople out there. Norm knew this. He saw this. He acknowledged it, and he created a new position for John to move to. And John was back out there outperforming all the other salespeople. Stop and think. Do you have some people that you're working with, that you're leading, that are frustrated or frustrating you? Maybe they're in the wrong position. Maybe they have different gifts, or maybe they communicate in a different way than you do. Another way Norm acknowledged his people was to set up a wall of fame. Now, this had been talked about for years, but nobody ever did anything about it. Actually, nobody thought it could be done, but Norm did. He believed it could be done. So he ran the contest and hired a professional photographer to take the pictures. Oh, nobody's going to show up. Well, he let all the winners know when their appointment was to meet with the photographer. And if they couldn't come, no problem. He would send the photographer to them and they could pay for the extra trip. Guess what? Everybody showed up. The wall was created and all of Norm's people felt really acknowledged. And Norm was acknowledged as the guy that got things done. People would say, oh, put it on Norm's desk. He doesn't know it can't be done. How do you acknowledge your team? Have you been acknowledged for something? I'm sure you have. How did it feel? Felt great. Norm invested time in his people also, with retreats to the beach during off-season for more planning and goal setting. And he enlisted sponsors for bonuses and prizes. And he invested money. Oh, one day, Carolyn came into Norm's office and said she wanted to buy a $55,000 software program for the purchasing department. Is it worth it? Yes, absolutely. Then buy it. He acknowledged her expertise. He gave her a secure environment to be able to make the request, and he chose to act on her request. All the facets really work together. What's interesting to note about Carolyn is that when Norm first came, she was a horrible employee. She was always late and would never follow the plan, always wanting to do things her way. But when she was moved into purchasing, because that was where her gifts were, and she was given a clear explanation of what was expected, she flourished. She didn't have to deal in sales anymore. She thrived in her new position. Stop and think, what do you do to invest in your people? How do you see this being implemented in your work? Norm developed a corporate culture of reducing and controlling waste. Now, even if an action doesn't have global impact, each person wants to know that what they're doing and that their being is important, and they are making a difference in their world, and their contribution matters. Now, remember John, he was moved out, the stellar salesperson. Well, the position was empty and Norm had to fill it. Corporate wanted him to go outside the company to bring in new blood, a new perspective. And Norm thought about it, but Dave, who had been with the company for years, wanted the job. He was a little older than everybody and he was a little rough around the edges, but he wanted the interview. And in his interview, he was asked, what sets you apart from all the others? He said, well, I may not look like the rest, act like the rest. I'm not one of the rest, but, and remember this answer for your next interview. But when it's 4th and 3 or goal, give me the ball. Norm knew that Dave was the man for the job. Dave knew his contributions would matter. He knew his value. Do you know how important you are, that nobody else can be you? Nobody else can be each of your team members or the people that you lead. Whatever they're bringing, their part of the puzzle fits into the big picture, and nobody else can be their part. Thinking about this, what difference does it make for you in your work or even in your life? How does Norm's story end? Well, when they had their offsite planning, they set 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year goals for individuals in the departments and the company as a whole, and they even wrote a mission statement. The results, they exceeded their 5 year plan in all areas in less than 18 months. And the top line revenue increased by 1,400% in 3 years. What do you see for yourself? In review, that was chosen, loved, acknowledged, invested in, and made for greatness. Now let's talk about claim and how it showed up in Norm's story. And what did you notice? Now to do this, wake up, all you people. I can't see your videos. Wake up, because you're going to be transported into a breakout room with just a few people and have an opportunity to discuss what you saw in Norm's story and how claim could be seen and how the strategy helped. So Ashish is going to send everybody to a breakout room, and you're going to discuss claim in Norm's story. And after 4 minutes, you're going to be transported back. Talk about cyber travel. This is fun. You're going to come back. And if somebody in your group said something really awesome that everybody should hear about, you'll have an opportunity to nominate them in the chat. Are we ready to transport, Captain?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Then let's see if this works. You may get a notification to join, and you say, yes, join. Oh, I didn't know Jyoti was here. Hey, Jyoti.
I'm gonna click join now.
Okay, do it.
See what's happening over there.
Yeah, go check on the other side.
Okay, I think Fusion has only one person. So
if the people that are left are not being sent, we can unmute the people here and we can have a discussion.
yeah, I think we have how many? 6 people?
Yes, but I'm not going to talk. And you
Yeah, I
can.
know.
Hey, Jyoti and David, are y'all still here, or did you step away from your computer? So you have did you set it for 4 minutes?
Yeah, it's 3 minutes left, so 60
Okay.
seconds they will get us.
Perfect.
And it's 6:44. So
Right. We have just a little bit, I mean, yes, we have
I think-
about 5 minutes of talk left, maybe not even that much.
So 6:50,
So another breakout room will work.
okay. And we have survey at the end, last 3-4 minutes.
Okay, well, we can play with time with calling on people.
Okay.
And Mike Barber is back. Did he leave his breakout room or did he just get here?
Because
left.
no one has.
There was
with
no one
him.
else in the room.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, tell us, what did you see about Norm's story about claim?
Well, he certainly acknowledged his people, you know?
Yes.
I thought it was a good story. I mean, it showed real leadership. I don't know what else to say about it.
I don't see anyone else in this room.
Okay, so you can leave this room and we'll discuss on the other side.
Okay.
Absolutely. It does, or in a marriage or partnership,
Yeah,
you know, giving somebody time or listening, acknowledging what their love language is, giving a secure environment. Oh, totally. It's all there. If you have another person, are people coming back now? Hi, Allison, welcome back. You have a friendly smile.
Thank you.
How much time is left? Are they supposed to be coming back? Oh, you're muted. Ashish, you're muted.
20 seconds.
Got it. Okay, they'll be coming right back in. So
3, 2.
let's do the next
Ooh.
breakout for only 3 minutes. Welcome back, people. Did y'all party on? Did you play music? Did you dance and sing? Did you have a good time?
I think there are some people still in the room.
How was it on the other side, Rodney?
It was good. Had a good chat.
Good.
You
That's
saw
the idea.
ticking down.
Mm-hmm.
Had to quickly knock them.
If someone in your group, and we can go ahead and start asking people, there may be groups still talking, but they should be coming back in. If someone said something that you think everybody should hear, put their name in the chat and we'll call on them to share it with everybody. Or if they're real shy, you can quote somebody of what they shared.
Hi, this is Bill. So I was in the group with Rodney, and
Uh-huh.
we basically had 2 points. And the first one being that you really need the leadership to show the support and you know, be able to demonstrate their support for the group. Also, in a high stress situation, there needs to be a way to diffuse that stress. So not sure how to do that at this point, but that's something that was a topic that we said needed to be addressed, because when there's high stress, bad things happen. How do you diffuse the stress so that the team can focus on what needs to be done as opposed to pointing fingers or something like that?
That's right. Well, if you're in a culture that is a loving environment and it's secure, you should be able to have discussions. And if you acknowledge people for what they have to offer, that's a really good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. I'm going to think on that, how we can add that. Diffusing bombs, the diffusing. Uh-huh. Good job. Good job. Ooh, 10 minutes. All right. Did everybody come back or did we lose some people in cyberspace?
Yeah, I think we lost few people.
Okay. Well, the next question, and maybe we won't send people to breakout rooms to discuss this. And maybe you did discuss this when you were talking about Norm's story. How do you see this being applied in your work situation? What do you see? Somebody want to raise their hand and we'll call on you. How to provide this culture when you are in a sustained question in the chat. Any suggestions on how to provide this culture when you are in a sustained situation of uncertainty with constrained finances available? Wow. Can people see the chat? That is a challenge. Who would like to answer that?
I will. Mike
Okay.
here. I've been in that situation. I think if you can just explain to people the why, you know, tell people the truth, give them the straight story. Here's what our limitations are, and you can seek their input. The lady wanted the $55,000 software. If you don't have the money, you could say to her, I got 25. What can you do with 25,000? Can we make that work?
Thank you. Thank you. That
Maybe
was
you can
good.
spread that. Maybe you could lease that software and spread the cost over 3 years or something. I don't know. But you always want to give people a dialogue, right? You want to engage them and you want to make sure you understand that it's not simply a no. You want to listen to them.
Mm-hmm. So the uncertainty, one of the facets is a loving atmosphere that gives security. Well, what if you're in a situation that isn't secure? How do you give security? If it's, you know, if people do wonder if they're going to walk in and it's going to be gone.
Well, you said it early on. You said, look them in the eye. When you would look at somebody in the eye and you talk to them, that right away begins to build trust. When you're shifty and you're looking away from people and you don't want to look at them, boy, that's going to create a lot of distrust.
That's good too. Yes, right. Being honest is the counter to that. Yes. I think looking people in the eye is great. Anybody else want to help with that question? That's a great question. I'm going to ponder on that a while.
I guess I can add a little bit to it. I know I've been in some work situations where there has been a lot of uncertainty. You know, maybe there's been a layoff and people are worried the company's going to close. And just as a leader, I've tried to just be really, you know, like you said, honest, but also within our project environment, try to create trust. When I have something that I need to do, I do it, and I just try to highlight the achievements of other people within the team to help build morale in that environment. We can't control everything, but within the context of the project, I try to do that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The more ownership individuals feel like it's theirs, which is part of when you claim people, they feel invested themselves in the project or in the company, and they will work as hard. It's not like herding cats and you're trying to get people. They are going to run to the cat food, you know, they're going to be invested in it. All right, good discussion. Good discussion. Put in the chat which one facet you want to have at least 1% improvement with. Which one do you want to maybe start with? Am I going to build more, do something about acknowledgement or a loving environment? And also ahas. While you're doing that, I want to tell you another story. My son works with an organization that advocates for better conditions in Eastern European orphanages. And he shared this story that I want to pass on to you. The crib room was full of infants, but the baby in the crib by the door was flourishing, growing, developing better than all the other babies. And everybody was getting food, clothing, and shelter. And the workers nicknamed that crib the magic crib because the baby there was growing better than everybody else. And they wondered, could it really be the crib? They took the baby out and put another baby in to see what would happen. They watched the crib for the following weeks, following months, the same results. The baby in the magic crib was growing bigger and faster than all the other babies, even though all the babies received the same food, clothing, and shelter. They set up a video camera to watch the crib to see what they were missing. What is it? Why does this baby grow? What they discovered was very enlightening. Every night, when the cleaning lady came to mop the crib room, she stopped at the crib by the door and picked up the baby and held the baby and rocked the baby and sang la 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 for about 15 minutes. That human connection saved the baby's life. We need human connection. We all need to be claimed. As leaders, you have a role to fill. You have tasks that need to be done and people to do those tasks. You can do them clinically, like an orphanage, or you can do them in community, like the prison in the beginning of the story. Remember, people don't only want to be connected, they want to be claimed. I thank you again for saying no to so many things so you could join me tonight. And if you want to be connected even more, my email, diairby@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And we have, Hashish has something to end with. Back to you.
Yeah, I just launched a survey. If you can fill out based on your experience for today's presentation, that would be great. That will help us and help Dia for the future presentation. And so it's on your screen. And while you are doing that, I have another, we have next presentation coming up on April 8th, and that is by Indubala Kachawa. And if anyone wants to be a guest speaker, or if you know anyone who wants to be a guest speaker, I have written email address here, chair_leadership_cop@ncpmi.org. Please email us and we go from there. Any suggestion, any comments, you can send us email to. And also, I think I'm still seeing some people are still doing it. 18 people already answered, but there are some people who still doing it. It's 1 minute left for the poll, and I will end that poll. And thank you all for being here, and thank you very much, Dia. It was a pleasure. It was great presentation, and I learned a lot. And I mentioned earlier, when I see the claim strategy, it definitely worked in my work area, and that's why. And I enjoyed this. Hope everyone enjoyed this too.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate the opportunity.
yes, and Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you from NCPMI and leadership team. Thank you, Fijan and the core team who help us to make this thing happen and take attendance. Anyone who has a question regarding how to claim this PDU, I think you don't have to do anything. We're gonna report it to PMI when you register this event. You put your PMI membership number, and we will send it out that to PMI, and you will get your 1 PDU. If you haven't put your PMI membership number on it, please send me in that email, and I will make sure that thing is taken care, and you will get your PDU. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, dear.
Bye all.